Hello everyone and welcome to the walkthrough for worksheet 3E. This is the last worksheet of new stuff in Unit 3 for college algebra or MAT121. On this worksheet, we're going to be talking about some graphs, some logarithmic graphs and graphs with horizontal asymptotes and things like this. So make sure when you guys show up next week that you have worksheets 3A, B, C, D, and E, 5 worksheets ready to turn in. And then I would suggest doing 3F, the review, to help you prepare for the test. But if you don't do it, I won't know. And hopefully, well, it'll probably be reflected in your test score. So, just do what you need to do, okay? So looking at worksheet 3E, let's look at number 1. So number 1, they want us to graph y equals 3 to the x minus 2 power. Well, our variable is in the exponent for this, so that is going to give it a very unusual graph. So what you could do is make a table of values. That is one way to do it. I decided to use a calculator for this, and I'm going to kind of show you what I did. So you hit y equals, you plug in 3 to the x minus 2 power, and use parentheses if you need to. I would put that x minus 2 in parentheses. But then you should get something that looks similar to this. Now, on this picture, you can kind of see it starts off really low and then it kind of shoots off. Taking something like this and transferring it to a piece of graph paper is kind of difficult. So what I also did is I went into the table menu, which is, what button is it? It's second graph. It's above the graph button. And what that does is it gives you values so that you can actually plot this on actual graph paper. So as you can see from these from these X and Y's on this chart, I was able to get some nice points, and I put those on my graph here, and I'm good to go. Now, one thing you might notice on the table or on the graph, as this graph goes to the left, it gets closer and closer and closer and closer to the x-axis, but it never ever touches it. So that's called an asymptote, and it's a horizontal asymptote because it's going across the graph. So what we say is the horizontal asymptote for this graph is y equals 0, meaning the graph is going to get infinitely close. It's going to get super duper close, especially when you go out really, really far, but it will never cross and it will never touch. So that's what we have. Okay, let's look at number 2. Similar thing, I did this one on a calculator. I did log of 4x. Now, when you do that, you get a graph that looks very similar to this. This one gets infinitely close to the y-axis, and then it just keeps going up and up, and then it kind of flattens out, but it doesn't actually flatten out, it keeps going up. But this has no horizontal asymptote. This will continue to rise forever, and it will drop forever. So for horizontal asymptote, you just say none on that. Okay, let's look at number 7. So number 7 is a bit of a review over what we did, I think, on worksheet 3C with the more simplistic exponential growth model. So it says you have 5 bacteria and they're doubling every month. So our amount equals our principal, which is 5 bacteria, and it's doubling, so we put a 2 into the parentheses, and then T is just going to stand for months in this case, okay? So it says how many are going to be after 5 months? Well, we plug in a 5 for our T. We solve that, we get 160 bacteria, and that's easy. So then next one says, well, how long is it going to take to have 163,840? So we set that up, and we just plug in a T instead of an actual number for the amount of months. And we're going to solve this. So we divide both sides by 5. We end up with 32,768 equals 2 to the T power. And then from here, we have to use our log trick. So switching it from exponential form into logarithmic, we'll get a log base 2 of 32,768. Do this on a calculator. Once again, you're going to do log of the 32,000 number over the log of 2. And if you do it correctly, you should end up with exactly 15 months. That's what I got. Okay, let's look at number 8. Now, number 8 is the more sophisticated exponential growth model that we had. This is the one that's talking about compounding different amounts. So for this one, it says How much should be deposited into an account that earns interest rate of 5% compounded quarterly, which means 4 times per year, in order for the balance to be $7,000 5 years from now? So they're giving us a lot of numbers, and part of the trick here is just plugging in everything in the right spot. So 7,000 is how much we want at the end. So that's going to be my amount. We don't have a principal here, so I just called it the letter B, and I don't know why I called it B, but that's what I called it. We have a 5% interest, so that's 0.05. It's compounding quarterly, so there's going to be a 4 underneath that 5%, and then a 4 in the exponent. And then it says we want this amount 5 years from now, so for our years, we just put a 5 up top. So we get that. So all of the stuff in parentheses is going to boil down into a number. So I just plugged it into a calculator, and it came out with 1.282. So B times that. To get rid of that, I'm going to divide it from both sides. So 7,000 divided by 1.282, and we end up with an amount of $5,460.06. So that is what you get. Okay, let's look at number 12, and this is the last one I'm going to do on here. This is the last question on the entire worksheet as well. So for this, we have 2 logs being subtracted, and we'll have to think back to, I believe it was worksheet A, 3A, to the formulas for that. So if they're being subtracted, that really means that you can switch it into division. So you get a single log of x minus 2 over x plus 3 equals the log of x on the right. Now, if you have something on the right and the left both being logged, and they have the same base, which they do, we can just cancel that out because you're doing it to both sides, so it doesn't really matter. So if you do that, we get x minus 2 over x plus 3 equals x. And then to cancel out the bottom of the fraction, we multiply by it. So x plus 3 times both sides. Then we add 2 to both sides. We get this. Subtract x from both sides. You end up with 0 equals x squared plus 2x plus 2. Now I tried to factor this, the slick way, but there's nothing that multiplies to make a 2 that adds up to a 2. 1 times 2 is 3, so that doesn't work. So what you have to do is, I used quadratic formula. If it's been a while for you, you might want to brush up on this. But I plug it all in, and it turns out you can't do this because you ultimately get the square root of -4. So this one doesn't work. Okay, so that is it for worksheet 3E. Like I said, at the end of this, you should have worksheets 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D, and now 3E completed. Make sure you're going through the answer keys and you're getting the same answers as me on my answer keys. And if I made any mistakes, feel free to email me and tell me about them, because I like to be as accurate as possible, and then I'll fix it in there so that it's all good. But treat worksheet 3F as the review. If I were you, I would try and take that 3F. I would put all my papers away and pretend it's the test and see how I did on it. There's an answer key for that on Schoology as well, so take a look at it. Okay, like I said, any questions, email me, and have a lovely day.